you think about mentalism being so popular at the moment?
That's a really hard question because I've been responsible for some of that as well because I worked on Chris Angel Mind Freak and I helped Chris do some mentalism, but I also, people don't realize, I also helped create a lot of the magic in the first couple of seasons, few seasons, 4 seasons actually. And I think the bottom line is this: as an individual, I could tell you I don't like it. But as an artist, we're there to entertain people. And if you've entertained people, I think you've done your job. There were people that would take forks and they'll do a bunch of bends in one fork, and I call it doing balloon animals with forks. And I would never ever do that because to me, less is more. But I think there is a place for it if that's what your character is. Now, having said that, when somebody does that, does it cheapen what I'm trying to do? Yes, if they see that and see what I do. But who am I to tell somebody else, because I could be cheapening what they do, you know? It's really a hard thing to, I think, really, I can't tell other people what's right for them, but I can tell you what's right for me.
That's a very, very good answer. The thing is that America is much bigger than Italy. Marco, what do you think of the mental situation in Italy?
I would like to go back to Uri Geller, because in my view, there's in the world there are 2 people being able to bend metals, and they are Uri Geller and you. So my question is, what is today your relationship with Uri? And because I think it was a role model for you when you started.
In some ways it was. I never saw Geller perform, and I didn't see him perform on TV. So in that aspect, no, because I didn't model myself on Uri because I hadn't seen him do anything. I had just heard about him doing things, and I had read about the things that he had done. And I think that's why my bends were very different. When I was young, there was a time I was sitting on a stage, and Uri was on the same stage, and I was there myself, another boy called Masawaki Kyoto I mentioned earlier, and Michael Edwards, who helped fool the scientists with me. And Uri turned to us, he said, these kids can do things that I can't do. And he was talking like about the twists and other bends and the more dramatic bends that we were doing and stuff like that. I met Uri on a TV show in the United States called Phenomenon. And Uri and I sat in a room and they wanted me to work with Uri. And I said, Uri, I'm happy to work with you. I said, the problem is, if you say you're genuine on the show, you know, I just can't because I work with the skeptics group. He said, oh, no, I don't do that anymore. And he's very charming and that, you know, and he talks, and then 5 minutes in the conversation he says, but you know I found oil. And I said, Uri? He said, yes, I know, you know. So when you know, I had a grandson that passed away. When he passed away, Uri called my wife every single day, you know, to say hi and make sure she was okay. So in that way, we have that kind of a relationship, but it's a strange relationship because I'm also in charge of the Randy's $1 Million Challenge. And I often wonder, you know, I mean, Uri can be very charming, he can be very nice, but there's a part there where what Uri doesn't realize is that I believe he set science back many, many years with the claims that he had, you know, and with the amount of money that was wasted with the scientific community. So I think he really hurt science, you know, with that. Yeah. So, yeah, sticky situation for me to talk about, but yes,
but it's also true that in mentalism we play in the middle ground. So I think that we walk a very fine line between enigmas and mysteries, and there is a difference between an enigma and mystery, and I think that with our work we can play both sides of the fence.
You see, that now, for you, that works. For me, I'm known for having disclaimers. I'm known because I feel I have a responsibility to my audience. And other people say, well, who are you to say you have a responsibility? You know, if you were doing Macbeth, you wouldn't stand up and say, it's just a play in the middle of it. Well, of course not, because to me, that's context. People come to a play, they know it's a play. When I'm performing these amazing things with my mind on stage, they don't know if it's real or not. I become the authority. It's like a brain surgeon. Just because he gets on a stage doesn't mean he's not a brain surgeon if he's talking, giving a lecture on the human mind. They don't go, oh, well, none of that's real, you know, because he's on a stage. They don't do that. So I feel I have a responsibility to my audience, but I am realistic about it. I know there are people that are going to come that are going to believe no matter what I say or do, they're going to believe. I know there's going to be people that are going to come, they're not going to believe. No matter what I say, what I do, they're not going to believe. But there's a very large portion in the middle who have never seen this type of thing live. They haven't seen any of what I do live. And when they see it, it is so convincing to them that I can actually change their philosophy about life. And I feel a responsibility to them to remind them, hey folks, this is just entertainment, you know. Now, when I'm doing it, I act like I'm real, in the moment of the effects. But I have a disclaimer at the beginning of my show, I have one in the middle of my show, and I have one at the very end, because I want to remind them, folks, I'm not real, I'm not a psychic, there are people that do what I do, they say they're real, it's my opinion that they're not. You know, that they're either fooling themselves or trying to fool you when they say that. But again, that's just my opinion. All I can tell you is that I'm not a psychic. And what you've seen here this evening is using either my 5 known senses to create the illusion of a 6. Verbal communication, I use magic, I use psychology, I mix it all together to make a show. So then when people come up after the show and they say, well, what about this one thing that you did? How did you do that? I will never give them a specific. I won't say, you know, it was dual reality, or it was verbal, or it was magic. I say, look, it's one of those things I told you about, you know, either verbal communication, nonverbal communication, magic, psychology, or perceptual manipulation. I don't want to take the mystery away. I'm going to leave that there. So it's either one of those things or a mixture of those things. And I do have effects that rely solely on psychology, and they don't always work. But most of my effects do have some sort of magic, but to increase it, I've added psychology. So when I say I'm using psychology in my show, I am. But if I was just to say that's all I was doing, a lie would be a lie would be a lie. To me, that's the same. I may as well just be saying I'm psychic, you know, because it would still be a lie.